This man just got body slammed 5,000 years before wrestling was invented. And he probably tapped out to a judge holding a stick. We like to think sport is a modern invention, something we came up with once we had stadiums and sneakers and Wi-Fi to argue about referees on. But ancient humans weren't just surviving out there. They were competing, betting, training, trash-talking. Some of them were doing things so brutal, the Olympics would ban it today. So today, we're going back, way back, to find out what people actually did for sport before sport existed. And by the end of this, you're going to look at your local gym a lot differently. Before there were rules, there was running. Not jogging for cardio, running an animal to death. It's called persistence hunting, and some anthropologists think it's the actual ancestor of the marathon. Here's how brutal it was. Early humans would pick a single animal, usually an antelope, and just chase it. Not sprint, pace it for hours, sometimes an entire day. The antelope could outrun a human in a sprint easily, but it couldn't out-sweat one. Humans are one of the only animals on Earth that cool down through sweating instead of panting. So while the antelope had to stop and rest in the shade every few minutes, the hunters just kept walking, kept jogging, kept coming. Eventually, the animal would collapse from heat exhaustion and the sport ended with dinner. Some researchers argue this is why humans are built the way we are. Long legs, minimal body hair, a stupid number of sweat glands. We were literally engineered by evolution to be endurance athletes before we had a word for athlete. But here's where it gets dark, because one ancient ball game had a losing team that didn't get to go home. Around 1400 BCE, the Olmec and later the Maya and Aztec played a game called Ola Madlitzul. On the surface, it sounds like an early version of basketball crossed with soccer. Players used a solid rubber ball, some of them weighing up to 9 pounds, and had to knock it through a stone ring using only their hips, forearms, and thighs, no hands, no feet. That alone would break most modern athletes. The ball was so heavy that players wore thick padding just to survive getting hit by it. But here's the part that gets left out of the highlight reel. In some versions of this game, especially among the Maya, the losing captain, sometimes the entire losing team, was sacrificed after the match. Carvings at the ball court in Chichen Itza literally depict a decapitated player, blood shown as serpents flowing from the neck. Now, historians debate how common this actually was versus how much was ceremonial or symbolic. Not every game ended in death, but the fact that it could means every single match was played with something no modern athlete has ever felt. Your life was the scoreboard. Comment below what sport today you think comes closest to that kind of pressure. I have a guess, and it's not the one you're thinking of. Speaking of pressure, the Greeks had a sport so violent it only had 2 rules, and one of them was no eye gouging. Barely. Around 648 BCE, pankration entered the ancient Olympic Games. The name literally means all power or all strength. It combined boxing and wrestling into one event, and it had basically 2 rules: no biting, no eye gouging. That's it. Everything else was legal. Joint locks, chokes, kicks, throws. Fighters competed nude, covered in olive oil, in a sand pit, sometimes fighting until someone tapped out, passed out, or died. And people did die. There's a famous story of a pancratius named Aristion who won his match posthumously. His opponent had him in a fatal chokehold, but Aristion managed to break the opponent's ankle at the moment. The opponent tapped out from the pain right as Aristion suffocated. The judges declared Aristion the winner, after he was already dead. Pankration champions were treated like gods. Statues, feasts, cities would tear down their own walls for a returning champion because the logic was, why do we need walls when we have a man who fights like that? When you watch modern MMA, you're not watching something new. You're watching a sport that's roughly 2,700 years late to return. But not every ancient sport was about violence. Some were about survival in the most brutal conditions on Earth, and one of them is still an Olympic event today. In Scandinavia and parts of Russia, archaeologists have found ski fragments and rock carvings dating back over 5,000 years. But early skiing wasn't recreational. It was how you didn't die in winter. Hunters used skis to chase elk and reindeer across deep snow the animals couldn't run through as fast as they. Messengers used skis to cross entire regions carrying news or supplies. There are Norse sagas describing warriors skiing into battle. Over centuries, this survival tool slowly turned into competition. Norwegian soldiers held early ski races and jumping contests as far back as the 1700s, partly for training, partly because, let's be honest, humans will turn anything into a competition if you give them enough time and a hill. By the time skiing became an official Olympic sport in 1924, it had fully transformed from "how do I not starve this winter" to "how do I win a gold medal in front of a crowd?" Same tool, same basic motion, completely different stakes. It's one of the clearest examples of a pattern that repeats over and over in this era. Survival skill becomes ritual, ritual becomes competition, competition becomes sport. And it wasn't just Europe and the Americas. Egypt had an entire sports culture 4,000 years before ESPN existed. Inside the tomb of Beni Hassan, dated to around 2000 BCE, archaeologists found over 200 different wrestling moves painted on the walls in sequence. Not just a scene of two guys fighting, an actual instructional guide. Throws, holds, escapes, all illustrated like an ancient training manual. Egyptians also practiced archery, rowing, long jump, and a version of tug-of-war, some of it tied to military training, some of it tied to religious festivals, some of it just tied to pharaohs wanting to look powerful in front of their people. There are records of pharaohs personally participating in athletic events to prove their strength and legitimacy to rule, which honestly explains a lot about why sports and politics still tangle together today. So, across all of these, running an antelope to exhaustion, a ball game with fatal stakes, a fighting style with almost no rules, skiing through snow just to survive, wrestling moves carved into a tomb, one thing stays the same. Sport was never really about play. It was about proving something, that you could survive, that you could dominate, that you belonged at the top of your group. The stadiums changed, the stakes got smaller, but the instinct is exactly the same one sitting in you when your team is down by 2 points with 10 seconds left. We just got better at not dying over it. If you want to see more of these deep dives into how ancient humans actually lived, not the sanitized textbook version, the real one, go ahead and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep making these. And let me know in the comments, out of everything in this video, which sport would you have refused to play? I'll see you in the next one.